सॉरी, थोड़ा लेट हो गया, अभी मिस कर गए थे, हम थोड़े दूसरे काम में लगे हुए थे। रोहन अभी फ़ोन किए कि सर आपका समय हो चुका है, तो जो भी कनेक्टेड है वो थोड़ा क्षमा करेंगे। आज का जो टॉपिक है वो फंडामेंटल्स ऑफ एंजाइमोलॉजी पे हमने ये टॉपिक को रखा है, क्योंकि इसके कुछ पार्ट ऐसे भी हैं जो कि ऑनलाइन नहीं किया जा सकता है, particularly the topic related with the kinetics and blocking system of the enzyme, and both are important for your NET examination. But I am sorry to say that the teaching of the blocking system and enzyme kinetics, particularly the reversible and irreversible blocking system and poisoning of the enzyme mechanism are not possible on the online. So to prevent the long gap among us, I am going to give the live lecture on the enzyme, fundamentals of the enzyme today. And we all know that the enzyme is proteinous component. That means all enzymes are proteins. It is well known to all that all enzymes are proteins, and it is responsible for the catalysis of the metabolic reactions. What is its energetic significance? What is the common classifications of the enzymes, and what is the some historical aspects, sometime asked in the group 2 or in group C also. If the more than 4 and 5 options are present, then some simple parts are also included in the questions for the test of the fundamentals of the enzymology. Now we come from the topic, and some historical facts are some historical facts of enzymes are the first, that is the enzymes are the proteinous, and it is responsible for the catalysis of entire metabolic processes. Hence enzyme is also known as biocatalyst. At first, the enzyme is recognized. Of course, the name enzyme was not known at that time, but the first enzyme-like action was recognized by Louis Pasteur during the fermentation of yeast, and thereafter Cohen proposed the term enzyme. The term enzyme was proposed by Cohen, and Buchner was first to extracted enzyme from the yeast. And now, after the extraction of the enzyme from the yeast, the enzyme is used in the beverages industries. Now, the crystalline stage of the enzyme, the first enzyme isolated in crystalline form, is the urease. Enzyme urease was observed at first or isolated at first in the crystalline form by Sumner. Thereafter, after the recognition and study of the enzyme urease extracted from the jack bean, the nortrop was extracted or isolated the crystalline form of some proteolytic enzymes, that is pepsin, trypsin and chymotrypsin. All these three enzymes were isolated in crystalline form by the nortrop. Now, after some brief historical informations, we comes on the energetics of the enzyme. It is necessary to understand. In my different classes, when we discussed on the free energy, during the topics of the enthalpy and entropy and kinetics like this, we studied that the reaction, that is the biochemical reaction. If we study the biochemical reaction, the reaction proceeds forward when the energy is in change of energy, that is the release of energy, that is change of energy or free energy available in the system, is in negative. When the D0 is negative, it proceeds forward. The fact that a reaction has a very large negative free energy, change does not represent that it will proceed at a rapid rate. When we observe that the energy, negative energy, is more, that means it does not represent that the rate of reaction is fast. A negative free energy simply means, ये क्या बतलाता है? Simply means that the existing product and reactant ratio, molar concentration of product and molar concentration of reactant ratio, is smaller than the equilibrium ratio. That means the free energy minus D0, for example, यहाँ पे आप लोग को दिक्कत हो रहा होगा, तो थोड़ा सा हम आपको एग्जाम्पल दे रहे हैं, कॉमन एग्जाम्पल, that if we observe the complete oxidation of a molecule of glucose. I also we discussed in the class that when the glucose is completely oxidized, one molecule of glucose is completely oxidized, then the minus Dg value is 686 kilocalorie per mole. That is, the value is very high, and it represents thermodynamically that it is quite unstable in air. हम लोग चीनी जो खा रहे हैं, that is the glucose, और thermodynamically it represents the minus oxidation. Oxidation of one molecule of glucose represents minus 686 kilocalorie. That means thermodynamically it represents that it is quite unstable in air. But simultaneously we observe that white crystal in our kitchen, in our store, और उसको हम देख रहे हैं कि वो उजले क्रिस्टल के रूप में चीनी हम लोगों के घरों में है. बिकॉज कारण क्या है? ऑफ कोर्स इट रिप्रेजेंट्स द minus 686 kilocalorie. It represents that it is the energetically thermodynamically it is unstable, but kinetically it represents that it is stable. When we observe the kinetics, that is the reaction kinetics, we observe that it is stable. That's why the sugar is available in our kitchen, in our store, in white crystal form. That means one point is clear from here, that the availability of the biochemical molecules in living system depends on both thermodynamic nature and kinetics nature also. Because in spite of the instability of the glucose in the on the thermodynamics point of view, because it represents the release free energy minus 686 kilocalorie per mole, but it is at the same time it is kinetically stable. That means here the stability, if we observe the stability, then what is kinetics? Because the instability of the biochemical molecules requires some energy to comes in the transition stage. It is necessary here. It is not thermodynamically, but it is the part of the kinetics. When we observe the kinetics, then the stable biochemical molecules requires some energy to obtain the transition state. That means the stability of the molecules becomes unstable when it comes in the transition state. That the transition, what is the transition state? The transition state represents a halfway point where the bonds of substrate are distorted sufficiently to that conversion to product becomes possible. It is very clear. I am again repeating, the transition state represents a halfway point where the bonds of substrate are distorted sufficiently so that conversion to product becomes possible. Because in substrate, the molecules are present in energetically stable state, so at first the unstable condition is necessary, and that unstability, that is the halfway of the reaction, is necessary, and that stage is referred as the transition state. Here again, the energy required for the substrate to obtain the transition state is referred as activation energy. This one is the activation energy. वो एनर्जी जो कि स्टेबल बायोकेमिकल मॉलिक्यूल्स को या केमिकल मॉलिक्यूल्स को, अगर हम केमिस्ट्री अगर देखें तो केमिकल मॉलिक्यूल्स को जो इन एनर्जेटिकली इन स्टेबल कंडीशन में ला दे, इस अमाउंट ऑफ एनर्जी को एक्टिवेशन एनर्जी बोला जाएगा. द अमाउंट ऑफ एनर्जी रिक्वायर्स टू is called the activation energy. That means the activation energy is necessary for the progress of enzymatic reactions. For the progress of biochemical reactions of reactants. Reactants can proceed forward when they require or they obtain activation energy, energy up to a certain level. That is the activation energy. The activation energy is the energy which is responsible for the distortion of biochemical molecules or reactants to make conversion them into the products. That means here again, the activation energy, if you consider in the living system, the increasing of the reaction rate or the obtaining of the energy, that is the two source in the general conditions. Either we rise the temperature or we decrease the activation energy rate requirement of the activation energy. There are two possibilities. Either we provide the energy through the heating or by the temperature, or we decrease the requirement of the activation energy. And here it is the nature of enzyme, because in the living system we maintain a constant temperature level. So the forward reaction by providing the temperature is not possible. Hence, the decrease of activation energy is only way by which we progress the forward reaction, and it is the work of enzyme. The enzyme is responsible for the decrease of activation energy, the required level of the activation energy. That means enzyme progresses the reaction by decreasing the activation energy. And then the activation energy, when the activation energy is decreased, the reactants, when come in the contact with the enzyme, they obtain the distorted position, and thereafter the distorted substrate are responsible for the giving of product. For example, here if we consider this form, the enzyme catalyzed reactions at 25 degrees centigrade, which we observed, which we discussed in classes also. The enzyme catalyzed reactions at 25 degrees centigrade may progress 10 to the power 6 to 10 to the power 15 times faster than the same uncatalyzed reactions. It is a common reactions. If it is asked in your examination, then it is a common feature, because it is responsible for the forward reactions, and a large number enzymes, more than thousands enzymes are reported, and they responsible for the catalysis of the biochemical reactions or metabolic reactions. And here, if we observe the common range at the 25 degrees centigrade, we observe that the rate of reaction is accelerated 10 to the power 6 to 10 to the power 15 times than the uncatalyzed reactions. And we simply observe that the substrate, two reactions, because it is the reversible reaction. So the one kinetics K1 is the substrate to P, substrate to product, and another reaction, that is conversion of the product to substrate. At the initial stage, the concentration and the molar value of the substrate is maximum. At the equilibrium, the concentration of molar value of substrate and products are at the equal, and at the end of the biochemical reactions, the molar value of the product is maximum. Suppose when the reaction is at equilibrium, then the K equilibrium, kinetics equilibrium, is molar value of product divided by molar value of substrate. That is, in other way, ratio of the molar value of product to ratio of molar value of substrate is equal to the molar value of forward reactions divided by molar value of reactions at the equilibrium, that is lag of the time, and it is always represented as 1 at the equilibrium stage. Now, it is the common feature of the reactions. So it is clear that the change of energy is not related with the rate of reaction. Rate of reaction is different, and the release change in energy of any system is different. There is no relation between the rate of reaction and energy released in the enzymatic system. So, enzyme only responsible for the decrease of the activation energy and helps in the molecular distortion of the substrate, and it does not involve directly in the enzyme reactions. It only accelerate and provide helps in the decrease of the energetics and release of the products. Second point of the enzyme is the active site, because we know that it is the protein, commonly they are protein. Of course, in some cases the non-proteinous components are also associated with the structure of the enzyme. That non-proteinous component associated with the determination of the configurational structure of the enzymes are referred as cofactors. The cofactors may be either metal ions or organic molecules. The metal ions we commonly studied in the different biochemical molecules, that in some enzymes the metal ions are associated with the configurational setup of the enzymes, and the organic components, mainly the derivatives of the vitamins, source of the vitamins, are associated with the enzymatic configuration. And then the cofactors associated with the organic molecules associated with the associated as cofactors with the enzymes are referred as coenzymes. And where the coenzyme is associated with the configurational setup of the proteins, then the enzyme or the proteinous component of enzyme is referred as apoenzyme, and the non-proteinous component is referred as coenzyme. In this condition, the enzyme, that means the apoenzyme and coenzyme, are collectively referred as the holoenzyme, and holoenzyme is only responsible for the